So I wanted to talk about living below your means. Now I know I've touched on this in different videos regarding specifically the nomadic lifestyle and why I've chosen at this season of my life to live a nomadic life and to simplify my life. Um, but there's some more things specifically regarding living below your means that I still need to share to get off my spirit because it's important to me to share. And this will apply to anyone in life, even if they are not nomadic or nomad. This applies to people even if they live in a home, in a fixed location, and they don't travel and they don't want to travel. They like their area. So I need to touch on it. Living below your means. For a while in my childhood and even in my early 20s, I really never heard that topic touched on too much. As I started to get older and have a better understanding of life, and of course you listen to different things as you get older, different people influence you, and then I started to hear that phrase get passed around, living below your means. But my first true experience with it, without it being labeled that, was this, and I want to share the story with you. When I was in my very early 20s, I was an apprentice in the construction industry, and I was working at a pharmaceutical plant. We were doing heavy duty work, and at lunch, all of the workers that were working for the company that I was working for, we'd all take break inside this work trailer. It's just basically like a travel trailer, but a work trailer that's plopped in a location. And during break times, guys go in there and they eat lunch on like a picnic table or whatever it be. So we all go in there. It was, at this job, I think there was about not many people. There's only like 10 of us working a job. And I always remember the foreman was very stressed out. He had a lot of responsibilities. I know from the job, obviously being a leader, there's a lot of responsibilities, but I know specifically also with his own health, he was very overweight. And I don't know also with his wife was stressing out. And I think he also had financial problems. So I always remember him high strung. That's part of my story. And then also, we had a decent bunch of guys, and overall everybody, was good. But there was this one guy that stuck out in my mind, and in one sense changed my life, because I just always remember this guy. I don't remember his name, and I don't remember everything about him. But I remember that when we would go for break and when we would go in this trailer and eat our lunch and take a break, he had such a peace. He has such a calmness about him that I couldn't figure out, what it was. And it was very, and I wouldn't even say he looked bummy, and he ate very simply, out of cans and stuff. So it wasn't, obviously I believe in living simply, but it was very simply. This guy lived very simply. And so, but at that time, I wasn't even thinking about anything like that. I was just, man, something's different about this guy. He's got such a calmness about him, such a peace. We're in a high stress job, and I'm trying to figure out. Everyone else is pretty much stressed out, with their own personal lives and everything else. But this guy, he just had a peace. And so what I come to learn is this guy was living very much below his means. And everyone else was either living at their means or above their means. The foreman, he was living above his means. Just about everybody else on that job was living at their means. And why that's important is because when the job was getting close to finish and people either get laid off or they get transferred, that matters. And that matters in every job, but let me just continue the story. So when it gets time, when that job ends and people get laid off, people become anxious, start to do a little bit of shisty things, and become cut through. Not necessarily because they're evil, but because when you are living at or above your means, you need to make sure that you continually get a paycheck to feed your lifestyle. Your lifestyle is not feeding you. You are feeding your lifestyle when you're living at or above your means. When you're living above your means, you are like that foreman. You're constantly stressed out. You're constantly on edge. You're sniping at people. You're not taking care of your physical well-being because the amount of stress you're putting on yourself is too much. And if job transfer or job layoff would happen, you would immediately suffer the consequences because you have no room for error. People living at their means, many of the other guys, they weren't necessarily always on edge, but there was always a little bit of, if something happens, I got to figure out what's next, and they would do sometimes things that are a little bit unsafe. And the reason they would do unsafe or dangerous things is because they wanted to gain favor with the foreman and with the company and save the company money and keep this thing going, and not get laid off or get transferred. And it's wisdom to work hard for your company that you're working for. And it's wisdom to save your company money and to be thankful for your whatever job you're working at and whatever company you're working at. So I'm not speaking ill against that, but I'm speaking ill about violating certain policies just to try to gain favor with certain people to keep your job or to advance in your job. And there's a difference. And then when the layoffs come, or when the job transfers, or when time gets tough, when those things happen, the people that are living below their means, anyone with integrity, certainly they don't want to lose their job, and certainly they want to, you always gonna need income coming in. Doesn't matter how below your means you're living. So don't get misled that you should live a life where you should not work, or you should not look to have some type of life where you're providing some type of service and you're receiving an income from it. Living like a bum and not engaging life in work is wrong, and you will suffer for that. Living below your means is not that, and that's not what I'm speaking of. Should always add, whatever it is for you, whatever value you can add to society, while maintaining your well-being, you should do. Take your breaks, take your vacations, know yourself, don't overwork, but you need to engage life, okay? You need to work. Now, so, but when you're living below your means, when there's a snag in the economy, when there's a issue at work, or when the company is, struggling a little bit and there's layoffs, or there's downsizing, or there's salary freezes, the people that live below their means have that peace and have that joy, and they do not they do not look to cut other people's throat to maintain their job. And that's the difference. I don't care if you work for the government, I don't care if you work for a big private company, and I don't care if you work for a small business selling donuts. When you're living below your means, you have less of a demeanor to cut people's throat and to do dangerous and unethical things to maintain and keep your job. And that's of value to you because that allows you to keep integrity, it allows you to keep a calmness, and it allows you to be a true leader, no matter what your title, no matter what job industry. Living below your means gives you the ability to make a positive difference in this world because you are not a slave to the materialistic things that make others at times cross their principles. And that's important. That's important in this world. And you see it from politics, you see it from corporations, and you see it from small businesses. The cutthroat, the unethical people, it's about that dollar. Now, money is important, and I don't want to preach be a bum, and I don't want to preach that money is important, because I like money, I think money's great, but I'm saying that living below your means will allow you to not worship at the mighty dollar, and it will give you the ability to live free and to truly be a person that is not manipulated, or that does not manipulate others based on pure financial gain. So whatever you decide, it is a journey, and it's not easy when you're caught in that cycle, and when you have a mortgage, and when you have kids, and when you're caught in the middle of that cycle, it's hard to get out, because you don't want your family and your children to suffer. And that's why in this world sometimes a lot of bad things happen, because people get so far in living at or above their means, and they have families, and for them to take a stand, or for them to really do the ethical or proper thing, it's too hard, because it's not just them, it's their family now that will suffer. And that's why you see these things in the world where people do unethical things to maintain money. And that's what I wanted to share. That was on my spirit. I hope it helps somebody, but if not, the Lord just puts these things on my spirit that I need to share. And it's a seed for whoever it's meant to be, even if it's just for healing of sharing. So go in peace and stay inspired.